Hello everyone, this is Manoj, and in this video we will discuss about render props in React.js. So the basically render prop term refers to a technique for sharing code between React components using a prop whose value is a function. Again, a component with a render prop takes a function that returns a React element and calls it instead of implementing its own render logic. Alright, so let's understand how this works with an example. So in the component folder, let's create a new file, render props.js. So import React from React, class render props extends React dot component render, render prop example. Also, let's create another component, class render props component extends React dot component, and this will return a simple string which it will get from the props here, div, and this is the child component, and inside here we will return the JSX which this will get from the render prop. So here if you notice, I'm using the function, not the string. But earlier what we have done, we have simply used the property name. Let's say this dot prop dot name, this dot props dot age, all right? But now we are using a function, and this function we will pass from another parent component, all right? So we are done with this child component. Now let's create another class component which will be the parent of this React render prop component. So class sample props extends React dot component render, and this will return. Here we will use our render prop. So render props component, and inside this component we will simply use our render method, and inside this we will use one arrow function, and inside this arrow function we can return our JSX. So return div, this is parent component, and after that div is already closed. Perfect. So basically this parent component which is sample props, this is using this child component, and inside this child component we are passing render function. A- and this render function will generate this h2 heading, and it will pass to over here in this child component, and it will be rendered over here. All right, so we are done the parent component also. So now in the parent component here, so here we can simply use our sample props. So save. Now in the app.js, let's import this render prop. So export default render prop, render props, save, go back to browser. So you can see this is the child component and this is the parent component. Now go back to VS Code. Let's summarize. Basically, we have created a child component where we are getting the JSX, or you can see the props, through a function. So this is a function render, all right? And this render function is passing from the parent component, which is sample props. Here, instead of passing the static values, we are directly passing a function over here, all right? But if you remember earlier, we can pass the values like name, Manoj. So on the child component, we simply use this value. But now we are passing the JSX through a function, all right? So now you can see we are successfully able to render our element using render props, all right? So we are able to render our element using render props. In simple words, render props are simply props of a component where you can pass functions instead of values. And these functions need to return elements which will be used in rendering the components. Alright, this is how we can use our render props and React's latest context API using this render props, and also there are a lot of developers who are increasingly accepting render props, and all I'm saying is you should definitely use it and give it a try. So that's all about render props, and in the next video we will talk about HTTP with React, how we can use HTTP request in React.js. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.